Singapore has gained a reputation as one of the worst plastic offenders per capita on the planet. So I'm here to discover, is that true? And if so, what are they doing about it?
You're watching Beneath the Surface, presented by ROCKWOOL.
A global financial powerhouse, the Garden City of Singapore is where East meets West. And it's also one of the most densely populated places on Earth. Despite that, Singapore is known as one of the cleanest and greenest places in Asia, but it does have one problem: plastic waste. 96% of plastic waste goes unrecycled in this area, and that either ends up in the ground or in our ocean. Once plastics end up in the ecosystem, they can have devastating consequences for the economy, wildlife and human health. So I'm here to ask the question, how does an island nation like Singapore conquer a growing plastic problem? I also learned how a sailing team is reducing plastic pollution by doing what it does best, going fast. One of the coolest things about SailGP is you get to see the best sailors racing the world's fastest boats. But as I visit the iconic cities on the SailGP circuit, I wonder what makes these places unique away from the racecourse. I've discovered people from all over the world striving for a better future, redefining social responsibility and driving technical innovation, redesigning how we think about sustainability. If you're interested in finding out what makes these places really tick, join me as we go beneath the surface. And this time I'm in one of the greenest places on Earth, Singapore. Singapore is quickly becoming one of my favourite places on the SailGP calendar. We haven't been here for long, but my first impression is that it's smart, green and clean. And you can see why it's one of the safest places in the world to live in, but also for millions of tourists to visit every year. This place is a financial megacentre, and it also has the second biggest port in the world, which is quite significant because 90% of global trade moves across the ocean. And we'll start here at Gardens by the Bay, where sustainability meets art. It's also home to the largest indoor waterfall on the planet. And from up here, you can see it's 35 metres high. Now, there are 4 official languages in Singapore: English, Chinese, Malay and Tamil. But there's also a 5th, Singlish, a local dialect which is a mix of all of them. And if you can speak that, you're really a local. If you're looking for some food, head to Hawker Chan in Chinatown. This place was awarded a Michelin star and has the cheapest Michelin starred meal in the world. All this cost about €8. If you're a sports fan, you'll recognise Singapore as the home of the Formula 1 night race. This year though, there's a new sport in town. 2023 marks the first ever Singapore Sail Grand Prix. And just to prove that Singapore is one of the greenest countries in the world, the first Sunday in November every year is officially called National Tree Planting Day. And after a long day exploring Singapore, why not close it out in the most famous place of all, Raffles Hotel, where you can get a Singapore sling, the drink synonymous with Singapore, first created in 1915. And that was Singapore in 60 seconds. Singapore is one of the most densely populated nations on planet Earth. Since 1965, the population has risen from 1.9 million to over 5.5 million, with a population density of 7,500 people per square kilometre. That makes it even denser than Hong Kong. The Republic is a modest 42 kilometres from east to west and 23 from north to south, so space is at a premium, especially when it comes to waste disposal. Given that Singapore's only landfill site is predicted to be full by 2035, the island must address its relationship with waste, and plastic in particular. Out of the almost 700,000 tonnes of plastic waste generated in 2020, the island only recycled 4% of it. As you can imagine, in a forward-thinking nation like Singapore, this is something the government and local residents take really seriously. So I'm here in Pasir Ris, a coastal town on the north of the island, to meet a local enterprise that's putting human health, ocean health and blue economy at the forefront of its mission.
My name is Matilda De Silva and I'm the CEO and founder of Ocean Purpose Project. What we are facing is a whole host of ocean pollution, algae bloom, chemicals at sea, even oil spill, plastics. And so the work that we do is about turning those various types of pollution into solutions. So Singapore is moving into sustainability in a huge way, and that's vital because as an island nation, we're susceptible to things such as climate change and sea level rise. The work that we do around ocean conservation and blue economy is very new in Singapore. Ocean Purpose Project is built on 3 pillars, the first being behavior change, the second being plastic to fuel, and the third being seaweed and mussel bioremediation. Along the entire stretch of the coastline, as you can see, we not only have beautiful mangrove and wonderful wildlife, we are also one of the most unique places in Singapore where you can see fish farms. All right, so we're here at Lorong Halus Jetty. Let me introduce you. This is Uncle Heng,
Great to meet you.
our
Hello.
fish farmer, and this is Vishnu.
Hey Vishnu, how are you?
So we're going to head out to Uncle Heng's fantastic fish farm right at the edge of Pasir Ris. If you look out in the distance just there, you're going to see a massive amount of plastics that are washing up.
Yeah.
The plastics also choke up the roots of the mangrove. If the mangrove goes, you have an entire section of the coast that is, just open to coastal erosion. And, just in my town alone, in the town of Pasir Ris, 140,000 people live in this town. That's 140,000 people that will be affected by sea level rise.
Yeah.
Just 100 meters, right, from shore.
Absolutely, yeah.
We live a very different life out here.
Yeah.
So there we are, that's the farm that we're heading to.
Oh, cool.
All right. Hello.
Hello. Why is plastic such a problem, and what's the scale of that? What's an example of where we can see that plastic journey and coming from source, and then how it impacts this kind of fish farm through that journey?
Okay, so Jono, we are sitting in the middle of the ocean between Singapore and Malaysia. Let's just imagine that we have a villager to the north of us who lives beside a river. Finished up a drink of bottled water, he just throws that into a river. That bottle actually ends up here. That's going to, lead to microplastics slowly breaking down. Those microplastics end up as food for fish or crabs, inclusive of fish that are being reared in this farm right here.
The monsoon season also washes chemicals and toxins downstream and creates the perfect conditions for algae bloom to flourish, spreading diseases and starving fish of oxygen, which kills them.
And so that's why the work that we do is really about saying, how do we take the knowledge of traditional fish farmers and how do we combine all of that into a very cogent solution for the pollution that they're facing.
Okay, Matilda, there's a lot going on here, so what are we looking at?
So to the right of us, where all the fish farms are located,
Okay.
and along the entire periphery, we have a canvas that prevents bigger forms of plastic as well as oil slick from going through. Behind the canvas is where our seaweed and mussel lines are planted. And they have a distance of about 1 meter each, and basically they are the biofilter curtain that is protecting everything in front of us, all of the fish farms that's behind us.
So they protect the fish and clean the ocean at the same time?
That's right. They've got a lot of, they've got quite a lot to do, but they're also an ecosystem. So you'll see beautiful little fish that gather around them. So they serve multiple purposes.
So Matilda, we've been working on a little experiment while we've been on the fish farm today. Tell us a bit more about this.
So in the 2 hours that we've been here, basically this is a sample of seawater that we've just taken from the sea. What we have here is we have baby green-lipped mussels. Within 2 hours, you can already see how much they've cleaned up the water. This is a sample of Chaetomorpha and a few other types of native species. And you can also see how clear the water has been. And just in here, you've got the seaweed and the mussels mixed together. And again, just from the naked eye, you can already tell the difference in terms of how much cleaner the water is compared to, seawater that's untouched.
This is a fantastic natural solution to protecting food and the blue economy, and the project's looking at more solutions at source to stop waste at the start of its journey.
These farms in the north of Singapore, traditional fish farms, actually account for 84% of domestic supply of seafood. This is important for us, especially in Singapore, because we have a mission called 30 by 30, which is by 2030, 30% of produce that is consumed in our country must be locally grown. This is why it's so important for us to preserve some of these small holdings farmers and the knowledge that they have in feeding our country for generations, but also learn from them in terms of what they've been doing for many years that's already sustainable.
This farm is made from entirely reused materials, runs off solar energy, and the few that live here drink collected rainwater. So So even lunch on the fish farm is sustainable. We've got bay leaf plates and we've got a curry made from herbs that are grown on the farm itself. So super cool, I'm excited to try it. It's clear that collaboration is key to overcoming these challenges, but what's inspiring is how the citizens of Singapore, supported by the government and local enterprise, are taking on the challenge and making their own winds of change. When it comes to sustainability, there are many different ways to drive change, and sport is a platform that can inspire like no other. SailGP is now in Singapore, and it's the first time the league has ever been racing in Asia. But it brings more to this island than just adrenaline-fueled racing and the world's best sailors.
Did you know that 8 million tons of plastic enter our ocean every year?
Our ocean is drowning in plastic.
And we need to take urgent action.
Accelerating solutions while we reduce our impact. And that's why we are launching
More Speed, Less Plastic.
A new initiative from Denmark SailGP Team presented by ROCKWOOL and One Ocean.
Which rewards us what we do best by racing fast.
Our boat can hit almost 100 kilometers per hour, only powered by wind.
In every remaining Sail Grand Prix in this season,
We'll convert our top speed
Into a plastic plate. Working with coastal communities around the planet.
to intercept,
to divert, to
and
recycle.
ocean-bound plastic.
We're not only racing to win, we're also racing.
To protect and restore our oceans.
Join us on this mission. More speed, less plastic.
Sitting in 5th place in the championship from Denmark SailGP Team presented by ROCKWOOL, and driver of current impact league greenest.
All teams in SailGP is doing everything they can to make a change for the climate and the planet, and this new initiative is trying to divert and remove plastic from the oceans. Every year 8 million tons of plastic goes into the oceans, and we're going to try to do something about it.
As the world's first climate-positive sports event, purpose is built right into the DNA of SailGP. It even has a league called the Impact League, which runs alongside the On-Water Championship and measures teams on their impact off the water, from reducing plastic pollution to waste management. And behind me, Denmark SailGP Team and its partner One Ocean Foundation are about to take that sustainability commitment to a whole new level.
SailGP partners and friends, welcome. This is Champions for Change, which is SailGP's exclusive thought leadership program that brings leaders and sustainability advocates together to share their approach to the climate crisis and how they can collaborate. Now, every year, around 12 million tons of plastic trash end up in the ocean. Sadly and unfortunately, Asia is responsible for a staggering 81% of that total.
We have to reduce plastic to enter in the ocean. Once it's in the ocean, pretty much the game is over. So we have to really try to go to the root cause. Coastal communities are hugely important for that. We have to work with them. The biggest issues you have in areas where you don't have infrastructure on waste management, on waste treatment, on recycling. That's why we really think we have to focus on that.
We've made this commitment, basically measuring the speed of the boats and putting just a formula next to it. 1 kilometer per hour is 10 kilos of plastic trash removed from shorelines in these communities.
Well, that's why we really think we have to focus on that and try to help these communities on how they can resolve basically their own issues and their own problems and give actually trash a value.
As the sponsor of the Denmark SailGP Team, we're incredibly proud to be launching this new initiative, More Speed, Less Plastic. When we joined SailGP, it was all about combining sports with sustainability, and this was a perfect platform for us. It matches our values and it allows us to create awareness in every city that we visit across the world. We're happy to be launching this initiative here in Singapore because they do have particular issues with plastic in their ocean. And when you look at this wonderful backdrop, we want to be able to shift the focus from just talking into action and actually create a concrete impact. And that's what we're doing here today.
What I've noticed here in Singapore is a real willingness to engage with this challenge, and that comes from the government, local enterprise and passionate private citizens, and they're really welcoming SailGP as a platform for that change. Singapore is not alone in this challenge, and it does have a reputation internationally for progressive thinking and accelerating meaningful change, so there's a bright future for this island. And to end the show, I'm off on a beach clean with some of the friends and families of SailGP here in Singapore. Join us next time on Beneath the Surface as we head to Sydney, Australia for the KPMG Australia Sail Grand Prix.
This episode of Beneath the Surface was brought to you by ROCKWOOL.